Let me just show you a case study, and then we'll get into how we can take those models into a real-time setting. So the case study here is from a wind turbine company, Vestas. They're a global wind energy provider, about 16,000 employees, and they really embraced the technology. They had a bit of a mess in their ecosystem. They had a number of self-service tools with not a lot of governance. Management was getting frustrated by different people using different tools and data to get different answers to the same business question, and they wanted to put a little structure around that. They've got a lot of data. So these wind turbines here, they've sold about 60,000 of them. They've 30,000 of them they're servicing as well, and those 30,000 are producing about 1,000 data points per minute per turbine. So a lot of data coming in. They've got a lot of analyses to do, and they settled in on Spotfire after a bake-off, and now they've got a lot of interesting results looking at those engineering data, but they're spread across to ERP and finance, sales, services, across the board. They've done very well with the software. So a couple of examples that they've done, and these combine, in some cases, these last couple here combine the Tibco R data function concept that I just showed you. This first one is just visibility. So they were having trouble getting their customers to upgrade the software in the turbines. This yellow is the old version, this blue is the new version. And it's where they started sort of showing their customers in Spotfire how the benefits of upgrading to the new software in terms of increased throughput, less downtime, things like that. Very visual analysis, but they were able to use Spotfire showing their customers to get them to make that transition to the new software. This one here is a really killer Tibco R tear example. In this case, the sales and services guys are out in the field talking to customers, and the customer buying a new turbine says, well, what can you guarantee is uptime of this equipment? Or how much energy is it going to deliver to the grid? What is your projection for that? They're trying to do the ROI calculations about what return they're going to get back from this turbine. So they developed an application with this left-hand side here are the parameters, the lat long of the turbine, the model number, various things that are the contract details. And so the customer might say, well, can you guarantee me 95% uptime of this equipment? And how's that going to convert, on your experience, to energy onto the grid? And so the sales guy punches in these parameters, and they get back these curves here that show them the risk of hitting the contract, the uptime projections, the energy projections. So they're looking at this and saying, well, it looks like I'm going to pretty high confidence of getting 98% uptime in this delivery. So they go back to the customer and say, yeah, look, I can guarantee you 95% uptime, but how about anything above that we split? So they're doing now these revenue sharing commercial deals based on their confidence in the simulation that they're doing. And they're all doing this from a tablet. Back in Denmark, there's compute cycles going on, pushing these simulation results back to them. So really, really exciting analysis. We were brought in as more of an engineering application. Now we're in the sales department doing this kind of stuff. We also do things like predictive maintenance, remote de-icing. We can tell from the sensors when there's ice buildup on the equipment. And then we can turn the heaters on to melt the ice, that sort of thing. So really exciting set of use cases, and generated a lot of revenue, especially out of that sales example I just showed you. This is their stock price since turning on Spotfire. We're pretty excited about that. Causation, not correlation. We are pretty excited about it. They've been also very willing to speak publicly. There's an article just been written about them, about the savings that they're getting from Spotfire, and yeah, we're really proud and excited. And they put so much faith in us that they now want to create an app store. The apps that they've generated themselves, but they're also putting Spotfire faces on legacy apps, ERP apps and so on. And we're building with them, in Singapore actually, we're building with them an app store concept where their employees can go up and design their own collection of apps that they use in their daily world, and do that self-service kind of design set of apps. And this is a testament to our APIs, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but this was a very simple configuration. We just added a couple of database tables relating to the configuration of the App Store, and it's just using the Spotfire library. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Now, just on the back end, I wanted to mention to you that this is a pretty big data set these guys have got, that I mentioned all that turbine data. So it's an IBM Big Insights with SQL Server data marts, and Spotfire and Tibco R is kind of the engine here. One of the computers they've got there has got 8,000 cores with individual nodes with a bunch of RAM, and This is a pretty serious compute environment that we're on there for some of those simulations that I just mentioned to you. So yeah, we scale up, and this weather data that they're using to do the projections that I just mentioned, they've got the world divided into a 3-kilometer grid, 57 slices of air above that, and they've got measurements or simulations by hour, by 1 degree rotations for the last 16 years. This is a massive data set. So some of those simulations that I was showing you about the uptime and energy generation projections are running on these massive supercomputers and then landing on a tablet. It's kind of a cool combination of back-end horsepower and front-end.
I've read the IBM story on this.
Yes, IBM. It's an IBM Big Insights and IBM Metal, but it's Tibco software. So
it's actually a remarkable study.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
The amount of all the weather data, I don't even know what half of the stuff means.
It's incredible.
It's so much more than just temperature and precipitation and wind direction.
It's incredible. But now that they're leveraging that in their sales team, isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
This is a great case
story.
study.
So that's hopefully a quick tour, but it's a really deep how we go here with the data function concept and the inbuilt tear and the server-side calculations and being able to expose that through our stack. So